Plastic debris cause the deaths of more than 1 million seabirds every year, causing destructive ecosystems and biodiversity loss. Globally, 1/3 of produced food is thrown away. And these are only a few of the many examples that illustrate how severe our world's waste problem is. We are living in a linear economy right now. Economies are nowadays attaching value to one single metric called the GDP. However, as long as resource consumption is coupled to economic growth, people will not stop extracting resources. If we continue like this, we will run out of fossil fuels in this century already. According to the UN, in 30 years, we might not even have access to clean water for all humans on Earth. Just last week in Germany, in this country, a flash flood has killed up to 200 people, the same number still missing. I want you to look to the left, to the right, to your front, to your back. At least one person must have been affected or even wiped away from those natural catastrophes. And not only there are people, they could have been a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a friend of you. You know, the German finance minister Olaf Scholz said, the citizens are not to be blamed for what has happened. It is something to be attributed to mankind as a whole and climate change. It will only be a matter of time until people will fight about basic resources to survive. Economic instability is here already and will exacerbate. Eventually, all human strivings will be in vain if we no longer live in a functioning world. All of this has to drastically change. If we want more just economies and a future that our next generations can enjoy, we need a fundamental systemic change. We need a truly circular economy where waste is a treasure, a regenerative economy where resource depletion is the past, a world where all resources are valuable. That's why I'm currently undertaking a PhD on the urban circular bioeconomy at Oxford, discussing how biological resources should be used in cities in times of urbanization. According to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, cities are where the climate battles will be won or lost. By 2050, up to 10 billion people will live on this earth, and the majority will be living in cities. That's why we cannot let cities be separate from the environment anymore. Cities must work with and be part of nature. For economies to grow and to continue to support populations, they must be biodiverse and carbon neutral. We need to engineer cities that can breathe, that are a hub of biodiversity. And all of this is not only applicable to cities. Quite simply, to grow economically, we must see the environment as our greatest and most valuable resource. We cannot afford to exploit it any longer. And the technologies to facilitate such a future are mostly out there. Alternative plastics, bio-based materials, sharing platforms like Airbnb, recyclable packaging, local seasonal food produce. They exist. But the main bottleneck is insufficient supportive policy frameworks. As president of the European Young Engineers, an NGO that represents 500,000 young engineers across Europe, we are advocating reasonable and sustainable policies, such as water reuse policies in a circular economy. We talk about these with important stakeholders like the European Commissioner for the Environment, as well as talking to politicians like the President of North Macedonia or the Mayor of Madrid. Also, we launched the first network for European engineers in politics, which brings together politicians with STEM backgrounds and bridges the gap between technology and policy. Leading politicians have already signed our manifesto and recognized the importance of our initiative. Science has long predicted climate change, but too long have policymakers not listened to scientists and engineers. Because we must accelerate the innovation speed to combat the climate crisis, we cannot let STEM remain in the peripheral advisory role anymore. We must pull it right into the center of political decision making. And most importantly, we all need a fundamental mindset shift. All people have to appreciate their resources. Companies must change their business models. And nations must change the way they attach value to things by quantifying nature appropriately and create incentives to sustainable economies. If we want to achieve economic stability and justice, we must treat all our resources as valuable goods and distribute them reasonably. We must learn from nature. We must close our resource cycles. And we must transition from a fossil-based to a bio-based, regenerative, circular economy. Thank you very much.